which is a 45% absolute reduction. So just a fantastic example story here in our community. XCG Consultants is our last gold pledging partner. They've also made a commitment. The gold mark is 60% or higher. These three firms are all way more ambitious than that. They've also committed to a 100% reduction over the next 10 years. This year, they've put in place their corporate environmental strategy to start to work towards that. And they've got their baseline in place, which is going to be a combined average of 2008 and 2009. What's really exciting about what they're doing is they've put a lot of rigor into the data going in. And so they've done a very thorough job to ensure their baseline is correct, it's accurate, it's as good as they can possibly ensure it is, so that as they start to see reductions over the next 10 years, those are easy to actually track. In particular, commuting and business travel was 66% of their total current carbon footprint. And so for them, there's going to be a major investment into telecommunications and commuting and looking at how they can reduce emissions there. So those are our first three, what we call gold pledging partners. The next three are our bronze pledging partners. Athena Software has committed to a 20% reduction over the next 10 years. And Athena is an enterprise content management software company based out of Kitchener. Some of the early reductions they've seen so far is by reducing on-site client training. And so when they do these trainings now, they can do them via Skype or others. And they've amalgamated implementation and training programs for their Australian offices to, again, reduce travel there for their staff. A key fact for them is that only 9% of their emissions come from commuting travel, as compared with the average of 26% among our membership base. So they've already done some great work around biking to work and public transit and all the rest. MCC is the last pledging partner I'll touch on. They show the diversity of our membership really well. They have 12 offices across North America that are participating, 23 sub-offices, 12 executive directors, and so some great central buy-in to this work. In Winnipeg, they installed a geothermal operation already, which is really great. PanelCap is actually the third and last bronze pledging partner. They've also committed to a 20% reduction target over the next 10 years. They had the most thorough GHG inventory and energy audit completed before we even had them start to be a member. And they're the ones that are interested in investigating and participating in the feed-in tariff program. They have a 100,000 square foot a roof that they can be using for that. So they're going to be looking at that over the next year. Due to time, I think I might have to go a bit quicker over our observing organizations. The city of Waterloo is going to be speaking after Intermodal, so you'll hear lots of their story from them. NDI has been a pleasure to work with. They've been on board since August of this past year. They have their baseline in place. They're composting kitchen weight, moving to more efficient lights, and they're well on their way. Quarry Communications, many of you know very well. They're moving into their new St. Jacobs office this year, looking at establishing a baseline from there, and they've done great work engaging their employees, giving them CFL bulbs and bottled water and bike racks and all the rest. Finally, Brighton Yard signed on in November of this past year. Again, great to show the diversity of some of the folks that are on board here, and we're really excited to have them work towards a commitment as we go. So that's all for me for now, and we're actually going to switch gears and have Intermodal come up to speak next. I think Lisa's going to do a quick introduction first.
Okay, terrific. So lesson of the night for me is next time we have a meeting I don't want to sit through, I have to put Mike in front of 300 people and he rushes really fast. So I'm just going to flip through some slides here towards, whoops, that's going the wrong way. Just trying to get back to the Intermodal slides. But Intermodal Engineering, as Mike mentioned, is one of our pledging partners. And in fact, it was one of our first pledging partners. Mike and Matthew initially met with Steve back in, I believe it was April of last year. And Intermodal Engineering was one of the first organizations to join us at our launch event, which many of you, I believe, attended last June 2009. So since they made their commitment, Steve has personally been a great champion of this commitment. And It's my pleasure today to welcome him for the second time to Sustainable Waterloo event stage, as we previously had him present at our second educational forum. Steve. Just gonna have to work to pull up your slides. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to pop over to our AV table and pull you up there if you just wanna
kill time.
Yeah.
The funny thing happened. No. Yeah, actually, this was all set up. This was a chance for me to plug Sustainable Waterloo in terms of what a great organization, and that video was great, and they are doing great work. So if any of you aren't members, please join up. We've had Matthew around to our office, and make sure we're honest in our tracking of carbon that we emit and so on. So it's they're doing a lot of good work, and I encourage you to do that. So what I wanted to do this evening was just tell you a little bit about what we have done over the last year. I'm going to have to keep turning my head to see what's on the screen here. So as Lisa mentioned, we pledged as a partner on this to reduce all of our carbon emissions. They've said 10 years. We want to do it in 5, but we'll say 10 so we don't. We'll look great if we do it in less time. So next slide, please. So just who we are, so you know where we're coming from. We're consulting engineers. Our specialty is working on green buildings. We advise mostly essentially commercial, institutional, industrial customers on how they can green up their buildings and their operations. Our main claim to fame is getting people through the LEED certification. LEED's a green building rating system, and we help people design those buildings and then operate them to get great energy and environmental savings. In terms of, one of our claims to fame here is that of all the projects done in Canada, we've done something like 45% of them. So this is a little company here having a reach across Canada. In terms of where we are, our head office is here in Kitchener. We also have offices Toronto, Calgary, Denver, and Edmonton, but our head office here, 75 of our employees are in this area. So obviously it was very important to us to sign on to this program. We have to practice what we preach, and so this is to show that we really believe in what we're doing. So as I said, we joined last year. We are going to reduce them all, and I think there's an important fact you need to know about the Sustainable Waterloo program, and one of the reasons we joined on was because we wanted a third-party organization to sort of vet what we're saying and make sure it's just not greenwashing, and so they set the rules, and we go by the rules, and one of the rules that they made was you couldn't buy yourself out of this, that you couldn't just go and say, well, how much money do you want, and I'll just keep buying carbon credits and sort of get out of jail free. They actually said you had to reduce your energy use by 50%, or more to the point, 51%, and then you could buy the rest. So I thought that was a really great rule that they put in place, and so we're obviously following that rule. So we've looked at it as we have to get this absolute 50% reduction, and then we can buy our way out for the rest. The important thing, and again, the other thing I like about the Sustainable Waterloo program is that it's very holistic, that we're looking at all of the energy uses and all of the carbon impacts, or at least most of them, 99% of them. So it's dealing with, obviously, our operating energy, and I think that's the one most people think about, is the energy used for your operations, the electricity and the natural gas and so on. But it also looks at things, your water use, it looks at your transportation energy, both your employees commuting to and from work, and if you do any business travel. Next, please. So the first step, and I'm a great believer in you get what you measure. So the first thing is that we have to measure them. So we did a measure of our 2008 carbon emissions. It came out to 3.6 tons per employee. And I guess the real surprise and the wake-up call for me was that when we looked at that distribution, I don't know if you can tell it there, the utilities is actually that thin purple wedge, only 10%. 90% of our emissions was due to travel. And again, when we're doing 45% of the projects across the country, invariably that means we have to hop in the car and hop on the plane, and that's my sin. So we had to get that 90% down. And so again, I think it was really important, just that first step, and I think this is the advantage for the other observing partners, just going through and doing the calculation to see where you are and identifies where the problem is. So next. So what did we do in 2009 to do something about that? Next. So the first thing we did, and we developed what we call a carbon tracking tool. So it's a software tool. this is what engineers do in the evening for fun. In fact, we have the guys in our office that did it up.